closer, and I know when to let you loose. And I know the night is fading, and I know the time's gonna fly. And I'm never gonna tell you everything I gotta tell you, but I know I gotta give it a try. And I know
8 minutes after the hour, too. What are you?
God, it's good.
Got your Farrah Fawcett hairdo up. What
Air
is this?
Supply. So beautiful. And the words are very apropos.
Wait a second. As we're high atop Madison Square Garden in these great facilities provided to us in order to do this broadcast, all of you on 50,000 pound for watts of sound. Juliet Huddy. Thank you, NJDiet.com.
Thank you, NJ Diet.
This is the perfect intro to the subject we have in hand and the guest who is schlepped up to 17 floors here to WABC.
If you heard the first refrain there, it was something about pushing you closer or pulling you closer or pushing you away when you need to be away. It's perfect.
What does that have to do with cuddling?
Well, what do you mean? Pulling you closer.
Yeah, but usually I would cuddle with the many women that I've had in my life just to shut them up.
Oh, geez. Okay, well, that's why we have this professional cuddler, and this is a thing. I've heard about this, and I have to say, Mr. Cuddler Man,
Mr. Cuddler Man,
I was skeptical, okay? And I'm sure that a lot of people are that are listening right now, so I want you to convince me why this is not something that is a some sort of metaphor for sexual behavior.
Sure. So thank you for having me on, and I feel honored to be with such a New York institution. It's really it's really wonderful. I owned a restaurant chain called Atomic Wings that I sold recently. That's in New York, and so I don't know. I feel very connected to you, and it's nice to meet you. So
nice to meet you.
My company is called Cuddlist.com, and we train and certify people to be professional cuddlers. What that means is they are given skills to empower themselves to be completely available to someone, completely radically accept them, and be totally present for them, and at the same time keep very strong boundaries. So I have a business partner, Madeline Guinazzo, that created our training program. She trains hospital workers, med students, and doctors on how to deal with critical communication issues with your clients. So how do you tell someone they have cancer, do that all day long, be fully present for someone, and be able to go home at night? So you were talking earlier, there was a segment on people talking to themselves, right?
Yes.
Well, what if there are a lot of people out there that are lonely, right? Mm-hmm. There are a lot of people there that sort of have no one in their life, or they've been through a loss, or they're in a depression or anxiety, and a lot of veterans with PTSD are clients of ours as well. And to have someone that you can connect with on a human level, face-to-face, sharing conversation and human connection and warm touch. Touch is the original healing modality that we have. Touch is the one aspect that connects all of us. When a baby is born, they're hugged. When we celebrate, when we go through a loss, we connect with each other.
Who are your clients? And what are, I don't mean to be crass, but what are we paying? This is New York City. It can be pricey here. How much do you have to pay is it per hour?
Yeah, so the sessions Cuddlist sessions are $80 per hour. And our clients sort of run the gamut from people who sort of all ages, sizes, orientations, genders, etc. But I would say our typical client is probably like a 40 to 65-year-old, primarily male. And a lot of them have experienced some kind of divorce or they got out of an awful relationship. They haven't had a date in 30 years. Their wife died. They just got diagnosed with metastatic cancer, or they're obese, or, things like that. And it's hard enough for people in general to get human connection and human touch. But imagine if you have some issues that prevent you from doing that.
Right, but Adam Lippin, how do you go from being a vendor supplying people with atomic wings,
which were excellent,
that's like a restaurant, to suddenly helping to run an organization in which you're dispatching people to people's, let's say, places of living or wherever it is they are, and now a person is sitting with them and cuddling them for, about an hour or so?
An hour or longer, yeah. The minimum session is an hour. So I believe that we're on this earth for human connection. I always have. I've been able to meditate almost my entire life, and I can drop into a space where I can sort of enter into a different level of consciousness. Like Einstein said, no problem can be solved by the level of consciousness that created it. The fastest, easiest, quickest way for people to get out of their head is to look someone in the eye, hug them, you drop into a different space. Yes.
Okay. I'm raising my hand because I know this is probably what a lot of folks are thinking right now. How do you determine whether somebody is coming in there for, for legit reasons and not expecting to get a little titillation? I mean, which is, I would think that would be something that there would be a lot of people trying to do.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So first of all, our training program vets out more people than it vets in. Right? So only people who have really strong boundaries, they might already be a massage therapist or a Reiki practitioner or a therapist, and they know how to hold space and they know to have strong boundaries. Number one. Mm-hmm. Number two is clients have to agree to a code of conduct. And then there's a phone call or some kind of intake between a client and a cuddlist. And the cuddlist has to say, yes, I would like to have this session. So by the time people go through the code of conduct, they have an intake, if they're looking for someone else, they're going to go get something else. I mean, they're not going to spend $80 to be frustrated. And what we don't do is we don't shame people. If that's what you're looking for, terrific, wonderful.
Let me shame them.
A simple cuddle. That's it. In which they're embracing one another. And it doesn't go beyond that. Because I got to tell you, unless I took saltpeter that morning and didn't have the urge to merge, it'd be kind of hard for a lot of guys just to be cuddled without feeling, wow, can I take it to first base, second base? Maybe I can slide into third head first.
Well, but I will say, I mean, some people have said that when they just have a regular massage, that can happen as well.
No doubt. And people have gotten aroused just by a simple massage, and oftentimes they're embarrassed because that wasn't their intention.
Well, right.
So how do you keep the arousals from taking place, which sometimes will trigger other reactive reactions?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to try to answer all of the questions here. So
let's throw one more question at you so you can completely throw you off. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so we associate touch, your mind immediately went to something sexual. Most of the touch in our life is not sexual. Like you mentioned, your mom's coming later. Mm-hmm. You're probably going to give her a hug. Right, you hug your friends, you hug people. You don't really think about it being sexual. Not going to feel her up,
and
it's not. But it's right. It's not a sexual thing. It's never. It's not an intention. It's not even a thought in your head.
Okay.
Right. So here's the deal. So assuming you do get aroused, right? Assuming that actually happens, not acting on something and understanding and being present for what you're there for, what you're paying for, which is human connection and warmth and compassion and kindness. Right? That feeling can dissipate, right? I mean, unless if you sit with that for a few minutes, and maybe you have to scooch back a second, or maybe you change positions, or maybe you have a conversation around it. But what happens is the magic for me, the transformation is when you get past all of those other feelings, you drop in. It's like a meditative space, and you're with another human being.
Well, obviously, it's probably more predominant with a male because you can sort of sense, the guy is sort of like reacting here with his three-piece set, his member, as opposed necessarily to a woman who may be sexually stimulated.
It doesn't really happen. It really doesn't. So.
Because you're saying that these people that are coming in are probably
traumatized
or lonely, and so it's not.
They miss human connection. I mean, they miss contact. They miss being with a human being.
Is that the whole thing? When you go in, then you're just touching and rubbing their arms.
So it's client led, right? So some clients want to get into a full cuddle right away, and a lot of clients have some trauma around touch perhaps, or they've been assaulted, and so just sitting next to someone and perhaps holding hands is a big deal. We get a lot of referrals from therapists that work with people with trauma and social anxiety, and lately, since this era of the Me Too era, we have a lot of men men are freaked out. They don't know how to be with women. They're terrified. So what if they get to practice boundaries and consent? What if they get to ask for what they want and hear a yes or hear a no and thank someone for saying no to them? It's mind.
That's interesting.
It's an incredible, beautiful thing.
Let's find out from a lot of our listeners out there. We have Adam Lippin. He's in studio. Adam gave up the career of selling atomic wings as the vendor, the owner-operator, in order to plunge into this, I'll call it therapy, a form of therapy, cuddling. Others, like, for instance, we have two millennials behind here, the Bulletproof Glass, Christian and Brian Mangaluch.
Would you like to be cuddled?
In college, they believed in spooning. That had its run for a while, where they promised they would just be in each other's dorms. Mm-hmm. Mom, Dad, we're just spooning one another. We're not having sex. Is that something similar, spooning and cuddling?
Sure. I mean, the concept is platonic healing touch, right? You can call it what you want, but it's two people together for a specific reason of nurturing and support and warmth.
Do you get frustrated by people who immediately think this is, I mean, because I'm sure the first question everybody asks you is, all right, come on now. I mean, you know.
Listen, I got to tell you.
The wink, wink.
When
nudge,
I started
nudge.
Atomic Wings, people were like, you can't have a business selling just chicken wings. I'm like, watch me. I love when I get confronted about it, and I love people's responses because I'm able to educate them. I'm able to share with them what I believe the benefits are, and we've had over 15,000 client sessions, and I see what the benefits are. I've talked with a lot of these people.
15,000?
15,000. If it's not for you, don't do it.
And now there
Yeah.
are repeat users, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we have 150 Cuddlists all over the country. We have in New York, I think we have about 22 in New York City.
So as I said, excuse me, Julia, but as I said, some of the women in my life I would cuddle just to shut them up. Was that appropriate? Because they seem to enjoy being cuddled, and it stopped them from having a conversation where maybe I didn't want to go in that direction.
So I don't know how to hold
Adam.
that other than it's about intentionality, right? So if your intentionality is to shut someone up or to have a sexual feeling, that's going to happen. If your intentionality is to be getting support and love, I mean, how many times have you spent an hour just getting yourself taken care of, right? And the thing is, a massage for the body. Cuddling is a massage for the soul. It's transformational. It literally changes your brain waves.
That'd be a
there's
good slogan.
oxytocin comes up.
That'd be a good slogan.
Okay,
What is your slogan right now? Do you have a slogan?
No, I mean, we don't have a slogan.
That was a good one.
All right, good. I'm going to remember that. Thank you.
Thank you. You're the one who came up with it.
You will appropriate it from
I will
her.
appropriate.
But anyway,
That's
no,
okay.
I said
I
it.
give it to you.
Okay.
let's
thank
open
you.
up our phone lines, 800-848-WABC. Get your pads and pens ready. Also, we'll give you a way to get in touch with Adam Lippin. If, in fact, you want to learn how to cuddle people or, in fact, be cuddled yourself, let's go to David in Connecticut. Welcome to WABC, Dave.
Hey, hi, Curtis. No, I called up. I thought it was going to be a funny comment, but the more I think about it, I think I'm right. If I had to pay $80 for a hug, I would feel a lot worse after than I felt before I went in there. And one other thing, I want to tell you something.
Wait. Just explain that first. Is that if you knew you were going in for a cuddling session, and it's cuddling alone, the rules are kind of specific, why would you feel that somehow you didn't get your dollar's satisfaction?
Well, you'd probably have kind of an empty feeling after you left, or after the therapist left. You'd feel kind of like you were used, or like you'd been had.
Well, Adam, is that true? There's sort of like
really. I hear what you're saying, and I find it very interesting. And if done incorrectly, you're absolutely right. Right? But just like in a therapy session, there are rules and boundaries, and you get what you get from your therapist. It's very similar here, right? So being able to share honestly with what you're going through and just be held for a bit, most people leave feeling a lot better than not.
Now,
Also, we're not talking about just the random person. If you're fulfilled in your life, you've got a loving wife, loving husband, boy, whatever it is. You may not be the perfect,
Right.
the ideal client to come to a Cuddlist.
And you don't know until you know.
now,
You don't know until you know.
You don't know until you know.
Exactly.
Wait a second. When will you know?
You generally know within about 10 seconds. What happens is you see people, they drop into it. Their eyes soften, their jaws soften, and they feel lighter and happier.
Let's go to Steve, who's calling from New Jersey. Welcome to Juliet, Curtis, and Adam Lippin here. Steve?
Hi, how you doing?
I'm feeling great here because I don't have to cuddle either Adam or Juliet at this point.
That's
I'm
weird.
great.
That's a good thing. I just wanted to say that I think, in the right situation, cuddling is a great way to communicate, sometimes even better than talking, because sometimes you don't have the right words to say, or people can misunderstand you, but people can feel your energy when two people, like a couple, let's say, they're holding one another. They're not one's feeling distraught. They can just comfort each other, and like the man was saying, it's like healing the soul.
Yes, there you go.
It's pre-verbal. It's the original healing modality. Thank you.
Now, are there rules and regulations against, for instance, after the session, the client having a conversation by phone with the cuddler Is it just like only when you're in session, or can they have the conversation by phone before they decide, let's say, to book a second session or a future session?
Very good question. Boundaries and intentionality are what's important, right? If a client has something they want to say, it lasts a few minutes, and it's important, and it's somehow part of their ongoing Cuddlist client relationship, it's up to the Cuddlist. In general, you're paying for sessions, and one of the ways you keep it in the boundaries is you keep it in the sessions and you keep it paid.
All right, now, Adam, this question here. You're married. Your partner is not a good cuddler. So you go outside of marriage in order to get cuddled. Does that happen, and is it okay with the partner?
Yeah, so we actually have some wives, primarily wives, and actually we've had a husband or two that have actually paid for a session for their spouse because they know they can't offer that, or they want to just they understand the platonic nature of it, and they understand how it makes someone feel. Maybe they don't want to do the cuddling. So, I mean, again, I'm about check your motivation, and when you're done checking your motivation, check your motivation. What's your intention behind it? Because if that's clear, we can do a whole lot of things within a code of conduct.
I'm thinking you have surrogates now, like Kim Kardashian, surrogate with Kanye West having a baby, a surrogate cuddler. You're married, husband and wife.
Well, it
but
should
you're
be
not
an agreed
into cuddling.
upon
No, I'm saying
arrangement.
you're right. But you have a surrogate cuddler. Would that be the appropriate term?
It could be, sure. I've never thought of it quite in those terms, but yeah, you get a massage, and as long as So I'm about exchange of energy, and you can't have a true exchange of energy if there's something blocking that. So if someone's being dishonest, it's going to impact the value of the session.
You were, if I'm not mistaken, you were a big wig at Atomic Wings.
Well, I founded the company.
Yeah, okay, so there, exactly. Fantastic, by the way. What makes you go from that? Did you just finally just go, I can't take this anymore, it's too hot, pardon the pun, it's too stressful, and then you go into something like this? Because this is a massive 180.
Yeah.
I think. Maybe it's not.
I like starting businesses, and I like challenges, and I like doing something that can be impactful. As I got older, I decided that I wanted to do something in more of the wellness field, and that can really take into my background, like of meditation and yoga, and sort of like really connecting in a real significant way. And so skills are transferable. So as different as Cuddlist and Atomic Wings are, the skills of growing and running a business are the same skills. There's marketing, there's hiring.
I want to tell everybody, get a pad and pen, because you may want to write down Adam's information if you're interested when we return. But we're also taking your calls on this. 1-800-848-WABC. That's 1-800-848-9222. I'm saying to myself, gee, I could have a surrogate cuddler.
You like cuddling your wife, though. You guys are...
Well, I cuddle for different reasons. It's sort of like, okay, enough already. About
well, I don't think you should probably...
Cuddle.
Let everybody know that.
Well, I
including
do.
her.
1-800-848-WABC.
Stormy night, the way she flies. A dream of
Adam Lippin, cuddler extraordinaire. How can people get in touch with you if they're interested in engaging you in more dialogue or actually seeking the service?
Sure. They can go to Cuddlist.com, Cuddlist.com. And if anybody wants to reach out to me, it's Adam@Cuddlist.com.
Wow. And then you can just set up a session, right?
So I'm actually not a cuddlist. But
you're running the business. You have things to focus on.
Right. So it's like it's a different skill set. So I don't, it's actually not my thing. I love it, but I'm not a cuddlist myself. But we have 22 amazing people in New York City, all ages and genders, and the most warmth, compassionate, loving, beautiful people that you'd ever meet. Go to Cuddlist.com.
Per chance, though, Adam, they cross the line, right? And they get into that area that you don't want them to get into. Did they get excommunicated?
Absolutely. If we ever had any information at all that something was not correct, they would be off that
It'd be done. Out. No cuddle for you.
I'd be thrown out immediately, excommunicated.
Yeah,
There's no doubt about
you're
that.
a freak, though.
But do appreciate you schlepping up here 17 floors.